Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets clear, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Stephanie Fowler, Chair of the Board of Trustees. On behalf of the board, I'm honored to welcome you all to this wonderful occasion in the life of our college, the inauguration of President Holmes-Sullivan as our 26th president. Before we begin, I have a few thank yous. First, to all the staff who gave us umbrellas. You guys were lucky. You got to sit in here and stay dry, but we were bedraggled out there in the rain. So thanks always to our staff. And to our international students who carried the flags of their home countries at the front of today's processional. You represent the global reach of Lewis and Clark, and we're pleased you've chosen to be here not just today, but as part of our community. And thanks to another student, True Durden, class of 2023, who sang that beautiful rendition of the national anthem. Let's give her another round of applause. I shared the platform today with a special group of individuals, all united in their dedication to higher education, their commitment to Lewis and Clark, and their admiration for Robin. An equally special group sits in front of me, institutional delegates from colleges and universities around the country, as well as our fantastic faculty. I'm going to repeat that, our fantastic faculty and our hardworking staff. Thank you all for being here for this transformative moment in our college's history. Many people have brought us to this moment, and I want to acknowledge just a few. I could not be more grateful to my colleagues on the Board of Trustees for their generous service to Lewis and Clark. Many of them are sitting here right behind me. We owe a special thanks to the members of our Presidential Search Committee, led by trustees Paula Hayes, who's here somewhere, and Pat Mahaffey, who is not, unfortunately. They worked diligently to find and recommend to the board an accomplished leader with impeccable credentials, and though they searched nationwide, turned out they didn't have to go so very far. Thanks also to the entire campus community, students, staff, and faculty for your participation in the search and your enthusiastic support for Robin. And finally, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and our entire Lewis and Clark community, I am pleased to extend our official welcome to Robin, her wife Kathy, their children, her father, and all the other members of their family and guests who traveled to be here today. We've got a lot more talking and a lot more inaugurating to do, so we will begin with Hillary Martin Hyman, our chaplain and director of spiritual life, and then David Harrelson, cultural resources manager for the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde. And again, thank you all for being here.
Good afternoon. We come together on this inauguration day to pause from the busyness and the business of our everyday lives. We enter this ritual to mark this moment, a moment in time like no other, a moment that has never happened and will never happen again. As students, graduates, staff, faculty, friends, and trustees, will you all join me in taking a collective breath together? Let's do that one more time. Let us be mindful and ground ourselves as we enter this time together to recognize something extraordinary is happening. May we be present to this moment and to each other, full of gratitude for music and mirth, for love and laughter, for justice and joy. We are grateful for all the people and places that our own journeys have brought us to this time and place, and we are especially grateful for all the people and places that have brought President Robin Holmes-Sullivan to this presidency at Lewis and Clark College. Community of Lewis and Clark, friends, neighbors, let us offer President Holmes-Sullivan our care and compassion, our deepest support, and our best intentions. For her success is dependent on our success. May we be open to follow our new president as she leads us through challenges and new opportunities. And President Holmes-Sullivan, may you be open to lead this community with courage and conviction, listening deeply and inspiring us to move beyond what we thought was possible. May we all be agents of transformation in our support of higher education and of Lewis and Clark. I now invite David Harrelson, class of 2007, and Cultural Resources Department Manager for the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, to come forward and offer a tribal reflection.
I'm proud to be an alumni of Lewis and Clark. Yet long before I arrived here as a student, I was in relationship with this college. I was in relationship with this college because the predecessor to Lewis and Clark, Albany College, was founded on my people's ancestral homelands, the Kalapuya people of the Willamette Valley. But yet, when Lewis and Clark moved here to the Southwest Hills, this is also a place of ancestral people that came to the same reservation as my people, the Kalapuya. And so today, in my role as Cultural Resources Department Manager for the Grand Round Tribe, I speak on behalf of those people and do work to protect our sacred sites, our village sites, and represent our community. As Kalapuya people, that relationship has always been there, whether the people of the college knew it or not, because we've been here since time immemorial. We say that, which is often misunderstood by many people. It means since a time that no one can remember. And what isn't understood is that we remember events that occurred a very long time ago, including events like the flooding of the Willamette Valley that filled the Willamette Valley with over 400 feet of water. That event happened between 13 and 18,000 years ago. So when I say that I've been in a relationship with Lewis and Clark since Lewis and Clark's inception, it's because Lewis and Clark and Albany College before it have always been located within my people's homelands. So that's 500 generations of people from this place. I was born in the Willamette Valley as 500 generations before me have been born. And it's with that spirit and connection to place that I'm honored that President Holmes sought to recognize that relationship, and we started a conversation. And in that conversation and dialogue that we've had with each other, we're acknowledging and representing the relationship that's always existed. Along those ideas, President Sullivan Holmes asked me to share some remarks and some reflections about tribal connection. And one thing that I really want to share is what I often is overlooked or not known or even understood, that there's Native representations on campus. There's always room for more. But many people don't know that Agnes Flanagan Chapel is designed off of a Northwest Coast cedar hat, and it holds a prominent place in this community. Or that Watsek Library on the undergraduate campus, its roof lines are designed off the plank house structures of our ancestors. These are all these omnipresent things that many community members don't know about, and those were intentional at the time to select and to have Native representation here on campus. But most of all, I think that what isn't known is the numerous accomplished and successful Native alumni who have and continue to contribute to this community as well as their communities. The main idea when I thought about a reflection that I wanted to share with all of you was one of our teachings, and it's the teaching of being a witness. And in my culture, individuals are asked to fulfill the role of witness during important and key events in a person's life. Sometimes that looks like receiving a name from their community members, transitioning through adolescence, or assuming community roles of responsibility. To be a witness in a cultural sense binds you with another person, and it establishes obligations and responsibilities to each other. These include things like being available for one another, supporting each other, seeking and receiving each other's counsel. This is a role of witness that today I embrace. It's also one that I encourage you all to recognize, because all of you are fulfilling that role today, and you're entering into that relationship of mutual responsibility and obligation with President Sullivan Holmes. And last, I have to leave you with the thought that no matter where you are, you're on Indigenous lands. And so with that, thank you for the opportunity today.
distinguished guests and official delegates, members of the Board of Trustees here present, esteemed students, faculty and staff, colleagues, and friends of the college. Good afternoon. My name is Kundai Chirindo, a member of the faculty of the College of Arts and Sciences in the Department of Rhetoric and Media Studies. It's my distinct honor, on behalf of the entire campus, and in particular on behalf of our 3 faculties and staff, to welcome you all to Lewis and Clark. 2022 marks 80 years since Lewis and Clark College relocated to the 4 Acres campus atop Palatine Hill. 80 years ago, what the Oregonian described as the Cinderella College opened at this location. As many of you know, this is the 3rd location in the college's history after Albany and the downtown Portland campus. And as many of you might know, the 4 Acres campus of the fall of 1942 looked nothing like the beautiful and well-manicured estate that it is today. The property, which had sat vacant for 7 years before the college arrived here, was overgrown and run down. And there was much work to be done to secure the future of the college. So much to be done, in fact, that Morgan Odell, the college's first president on this campus, did not stop for an inauguration ceremony. The same was true for John Jack R. Howard, the 2nd president of Lewis and Clark at 4 Acres. And so it wasn't until 1981, 41 years ago, when James Gardner, the 21st president of the college and the 3rd one here, that the college held its first inauguration here. What can we learn by observing the history of presidential inauguration ceremonies of Lewis and Clark at 4 Acres? Madam President, your inauguration, like all inaugurations on this campus, symbolizes progress despite adversity, as John R. Howard once wrote. That's the central theme of the Lewis and Clark story. Progress despite adversity. The fact that you are our first for us in so many ways breathes life into that storied past and to the promising future that lies ahead. Dr. Robin H. Holmes-Sullivan rose to the office through student affairs, a path which reflects the changing nature of today's college presidency. As they've always been, college and university presidents are the public face of an institution, but they increasingly shoulder responsibilities that their predecessors were not called upon to carry. The college president of today is expected to be accessible to students, to their parents, and to the larger community. The college president of today is responsible not just for the intellectual education of our students, but also for their wellness, their health, and their safety. Today's college president must grapple with complicated issues of diversity and identity in an increasingly complex and unforgiving world. The college president of today must navigate crises and controversies in a time of social media where any misstep can go viral. And the presidency of today is a 24/7 responsibility in a way that perhaps only a vice president of student life, one who, like Robin, was seasoned by the twin tests of a global pandemic and the threat of fires consuming our campus can fully appreciate. But Robin is not only perfectly suited for the presidency because of her experience and dedication. She's also perfectly suited because of her values. And in the last 5 years, we've seen those values at work here. Central to those values are our students. Their success and well-being is her North Star. With that North Star, she helped guide us through the darkest days of COVID. She brought focus to the importance of the first-year experience, and she helped assure that the most significant capital construction investments on our campus in at least a generation are focused on our students' needs. In President Holmes-Sullivan, our students, and by extension, our entire community, have a leader who sees and responds to their needs and sets them up for success in and out of the classroom. Robin, on behalf of myself and my colleagues, we're so happy to have you in this role, and we offer you our heartfelt congratulations, as well as to Kathy and the rest of your beloved. You are the president that Lewis and Clark needs, and the president we are lucky to have. I would like now to invite Chris Ullman to the podium. Chris is a 1977 graduate of the College of Arts and Sciences, a member of our Board of Trustees, and president of the Board of Alumni. Chris.
Thank you, Dr. Jwenda. Representative Earl Blumenauer is an author, a lawyer, a member of the United States House of Representatives, and a double alumnus of Lewis and Clark. He holds his bachelor's degree in political science from the College of Arts and Sciences, and he holds his Juris Doctor from our College of Law. He also was awarded last year in 2021 an honorary Doctor of Laws degree. Representative Blumenauer started his career as an assistant to the president of Portland State University, but his attentions soon shifted to politics. He ran for and won a seat in the Oregon State House of Representatives in 1972, the Multnomah County Commission in 1976, and the Portland City Council in 1986, and then finally the U.S. House of Representatives in 1996, where he represents Oregon's 3rd Congressional District. Over the course of his distinguished and dedicated career, he has established a particular reputation in the areas of education, health reform, and a healthy environment through the support of alternative transportation and energy. Please join me in welcoming to the podium one of Oregon's most outstanding public servants, and a man we are very proud to call one of our own, Representative Earl Blumenauer.
Thank you, Chris. Madam President, as I reflected on my comments today, I felt like my life was passing in front of my eyes. It's hard to believe, but I've known and worked with 9 presidents of Lewis and Clark. Whoa. And as such, I think I can say with certainty that Robin Holmes-Sullivan is the person the college needs now, and indeed our community needs. Lewis and Clark has impact far beyond Portland, Oregon. I'm proud of the role that has been played by the people associated with the college. Scholars, diplomats, educators, activists, environmental champions who've played a pivotal role. They represent the fabric of our community on the cutting edge of social change and the many challenges of the difficult times we are navigating. Together, our college family, students, faculty, staff, alumni, friends, and supporters are navigating a time which, to characterize as unprecedented, doesn't do it justice. In the best of circumstances, negotiating the needs and expectations of the academic community is not just demanding, it's brutal, especially in times of turmoil. 20 years ago, in the aftermath of the tragedy of 9/11, the college was a refuge for students and people in the community, especially those from the Middle East. It was a source of refuge and comfort, much like we experienced 50 years ago in the aftermath of the tragic assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy. The roller coaster of emotions, current events, and stresses in our community continues. I think now is the time to summon our inner pioneer under the leadership of President Holmes-Sullivan, our new president. Let's be clear, there are no small parts in the drama that's unfolding all around us. With the climate crisis, political and social unrest, racial reckoning. With Robin, we have a steady hand, a proven leader of compassion and understanding, strength, and humanity that the times demand. We have the right leader for the moment. We're fortunate that she's taking the helm of Lewis and Clark College at precisely the time to protect its role in the community and the wider world. Robin, we're looking forward to working with you to make your challenge easier and to help you and the college succeed. Godspeed.
Shading very long ago, I dare to hold to know the ending. I left a fortune there, oh well beyond compare. A love so true and rare, expensive. I gave it all away. It takes my breath away. A little shady glow, a memory long ago. I dare to hold to know the ending. I gave it all away. It takes my breath away. A little shady glow, a memory long ago. A tale too old to know the ending.
Please join me in another round of applause for Kip and Ken. They are one of Lewis and Clark's student-led a cappella singing groups, and for that rendition of Shady Grove by Yola. We will now hear from three individuals specifically invited by Robin to make remarks at this inauguration ceremony. Each is a person who is particularly meaningful to Robin, and each has played a key role in a particular part of Robin's life. To introduce the first speaker, I'd like to ask graduate student Bree Pleasant to come to the podium.
Thank you. I didn't print out my speech, so give me 1 second. All right, it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Mia Twan, sorry, Dean of the College of Education at University of Washington. Dr. Twan is a respected scholar, longtime academic leader with expertise in racial and ethnic identity development, minority relations, and Asian transracial adoption. She and President Holmes-Sullivan first met in 1996 when Dr. Twan was a young faculty member in the sociology department at the University of Oregon, and President Holmes-Sullivan was working in the student affairs there. The two would go on to become close colleagues. In addition to her contribution as a faculty member, Dr. Twan served in a variety of administrative roles at the UO, including director of the Sociology Department and Honors Program, director of Center of Diversity and Community, and associate dean of the Graduate School. She also serves as an interim dean of the UO's College of Education before moving to the University of Washington to assume her current role as Dean of the College of Education. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Twan to the podium to share her thoughts and advice on this important day for President Holmes-Sullivan and the entire Lewis and Clark College community.
To most people here today, she's President Holmes-Sullivan, a nationally respected administrator, trusted colleague, and now 26th president of the Lewis and Clark community. But to me, she is Robin, a dear friend and mentor, the first person to take our daughter out on a motorcycle, she did, and a beacon of inspiring leadership during challenging times. I met Robin about 25 years ago. She was director of the Counseling Center, and I was a new faculty member at the University of Oregon. I liked her the moment I met her. She was genuine, thoughtful, and easy to talk to. My esteem only grew over the years as I saw her in action, whether quelling faculty resistance to diversity efforts, comforting a family after a tragic student incident, or rising through the ranks as a Black woman in predominantly white institutions. With Robin, what you see is what you get. There is no pretense or phoniness. She is steady, forward-looking, and values-driven in her leadership. She is also kind, wise, intuitive, and relational. At Oregon, we worked to make the institution more inclusive and diverse by creating spaces where students, faculty, and staff could question, learn, and grow together. One time, our center hosted a conference on diversity and cultural competency in higher education. This was in the early 2000s, and a vocal swath of the faculty was, how shall I put it, not receptive to changing their habits of mind or practice. During one session, a group of angry faculty confronted us and basically said, how dare we question their authority and dominance over the university? Their scare tactics worked on me, but not on Robin. She stood her ground, answered each loaded question with care, and remained gracious throughout it all. That was a pivotal moment for me as an aspiring leader.
To see a fellow woman of color be so powerful, courageous, and effective blew me away and inspired me to pursue a similar path and style of leadership. I want you to know that your president is a role model, not just to me, but for many who have stepped into academic leadership. She has broken barrier after barrier and amassed a string of successes throughout her career. But most important to me, she has remained the Robin that I know and love, still open-hearted and an optimistic champion for the power of education to transform lives. Let me turn now to why I believe Robin is the right leader for these extraordinary times. We are living through a period of massive disruption. Climate change, racial unrest, threats to democracy, and oh yeah, a global pandemic, to name just a few. Add to this a growing skepticism in the public about the value of obtaining a college degree. Taken together, it's clear that higher ed is at an inflection point. We must think and do things differently. There can be no sitting back to contemplate from the comfort of our beautiful campuses because the world needs us to be actively engaged right here and right now for the public good. What will Lewis and Clark's role be in grappling with the grand challenges of our time here in Portland, across Oregon, and around the world? And what shifts will need to happen within your culture, academic programs and practices to ensure that this college remains relevant, not just today, but well into the future? These aren't easy questions to ponder, but answer them you must. And it can't take years of strategic planning and committee work to do so. Fortunately, you have a president uniquely skilled to guide this community in being thoughtful, strategic, and creative about Lewis and Clark's future. Good leadership always matters, but especially so right now. And you have an excellent leader in Robin. Before closing, I would be remiss not to mention another leader you can count on, Robin's wife and best friend, Kathy. You have not only one, but two powerful people who will lean into their roles in service of this college. And together, they are as winsome as they are formidable. They will foster authentic relationships and represent this fine institution with heart, substance, and style. Congratulations, Lewis and Clark community, and thank you for letting me share this very special day with you.
Good afternoon. I am Nida Hassan, President of the Student Bar Association at our law school. It is my great honor today to introduce Dr. Lori White, President of DePauw University, a longtime colleague of President Holmes-Sullivan, and an expert on the student experience in higher education. The editor of a book titled Keep Calm and Call the Dean of Students, President White has a very similar professional background to President Holmes-Sullivan. Like Dr. Holmes-Sullivan, she has a degree in psychology. Also like Dr. Holmes-Sullivan, she worked her way up the student affairs ranks to become vice chancellor before being tapped to assume the presidency at DePauw. And finally, like President Holmes-Sullivan, Dr. White is the first woman and the first person of color to serve as president of her institution. A graduate of the University of California, Berkeley, and Stanford University, President White is active nationally in leadership roles with several higher education organizations. She also has authored a number of articles and book chapters and is described by President Holmes-Sullivan as a friend, a colleague, and one of the people she admires most in the field of student affairs. Please join me in welcoming President White to the podium to share her experience as a colleague of President Holmes-Sullivan and her thoughts on the changing role of college presidents.
President Holmes-Sullivan, today we lift our collective voices to honor and to celebrate you. As the first African American and the first female president of Lewis and Clark College, you have, in the words sung in the Black National Anthem, lift every voice and sing,
Yet with a steady beat, have not your weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. Our ancestors. Our ancestors toiled, suffered, and dared to dream of a future brighter than what they could hope only to imagine. And ain't I a woman, in the words of Sojourner Truth. How proud our ancestors are, and we are of you and Lewis and Clark to make the great decision to appoint such a brilliant, talented, and compassionate leader to serve as your 26th president. President Holmes-Sullivan and I go way back as colleagues and friends in our respective roles as student affairs professionals. And I must confess to something I never told Robin. She intimidated the heck out of me when we first met. You see, when we were in meetings with other vice presidents of student affairs or serving together on the board for our professional association, your president was always the smartest person in the room. We would all be talking round and round about a complicated problem. Robin would listen carefully to what each of us said, make sure everyone had the chance to provide their perspective, and then would offer a clear, well-articulated, profound solution the rest of us had not yet considered. And I would say to myself, well, darn, why didn't I think of that? I am sure that many of you have experienced the same in your interactions with President Holmes-Sullivan. And I hope you have also discovered, as I have, that your president is an outstanding listener, affirmative of all people, voices, and viewpoints, and has a wonderful sense of humor. Because of her background as a psychologist and a student affairs vice president, she has seen and heard it all. There is no challenge she might confront as president for which she is not already well prepared. And the challenges of leading liberal arts colleges in the 21st century are immense. Something I know just a little something about, serving as president of a sister liberal arts college. And like President Holmes-Sullivan, as you heard in the introduction, someone who came to the presidency after formally serving as a vice president for student affairs. College presidents are facing enormous headwinds, as many are questioning the value of a college degree and a degree from a liberal arts college in particular. Some believing that liberal means we only teach Democrats. And that arts means our focus is preparing our graduates to work at Michael's. Now, I love me some Michael's, but that's not why students go to liberal arts colleges. However, given all that we are confronting in our country and globally today, the role of our liberal arts colleges in shaping the future of tomorrow has never been more important. Our core educational values are centered on the world of ideas, on critical thinking, and on truth-seeking. Our hope for a better nation and world rests on the educational experiences provided at Lewis and Clark, at DePauw, and at other liberal arts colleges. In a country where our neighborhoods are increasingly segregated by race, income, and political party, liberal arts colleges are one of the very few places left in our country where individuals from diverse backgrounds with different experiences, perspectives, identities, and ideologies wrestle with the incredible messiness and exhilaration of, in the words of the Lewis and Clark motto, what it means to explore, to learn, to work, and I would add as a friendly amendment to your motto, to live together. President Holmes-Sullivan has been called to lead Lewis and Clark at this important moment in higher education and in the history of Lewis and Clark College. Sister President Holmes-Sullivan. I salute you, I congratulate you, and I am committed, as I know all who are gathered here today, to walk with and alongside you as you lead this incredible college to an even brighter future.
Good afternoon. I am Madeline Mack-Williamson, Student Body President of the College of Arts and Sciences. It is my privilege today to introduce Asia Wooten, a talented Lewis and Clark alumna who graduated in 2020 with a bachelor's degree in biochemistry and molecular biology. Asia is now a medical student at OHSU with a goal of becoming a pediatric specialist. Asia first met President Holmes-Sullivan in 2012 when her mother asked Dr. Holmes-Sullivan if she would be willing to serve as her mentor. Dr. Holmes-Sullivan said yes, and the two continue to foster their relationship to this day. Asia is an accomplished pianist as well as a brilliant student, winning a gold medal in a classical musical performance at the 2014 NAACP Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics. While at Lewis and Clark, she served as the president of the Black Student Union, was co-president of the Food Pantry Club, and helped implement a pilot bridge program to help underrepresented students transition into college. At OHSU, Asia has become involved in various research programs and is currently president of OHSU's Student National Medical Association chapter and a dean's advisor for the class of 2025. Please join me in welcoming Asia Wooten to the podium to share her experience as a mentee and a friend of President Holmes-Sullivan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Asia, and it is truly, truly a pleasure to be here today and to share the story of my relationship with Dr. Robin Holmes-Sullivan, who I have had so much admiration and respect for over the years. Again, I graduated from Lewis and Clark in 2020, and I'm currently a second-year medical student at Oregon Health and Science University. And I would not have gained nearly as many educational opportunities as I have now without the energy invested into me by my family and my mentors and everyone who has shown me the value of initiative and mentorship. Today, I am so excited to speak about the impact of my relationship with a mentor who has contributed to my life in such a profound and distinct way. Dr. Holmes and I met 10 years ago after my mother ambitiously approached her during an NAACP event and flat out asked her to become my mentor. I remember my mom coming home that night expressing how excited she was to have met such an inspirational Black leader in the community who at the time served as vice president of student life at the University of Oregon. My mom and I talked for hours about her background, and we researched her and talked about how excited we were to get to know Dr. Holmes. And by the end of the week, we were in her office laughing and bonding over shared experiences as if we had already known each other. Our outings continued over the years as Dr. Holmes and I met frequently for coffee and then lunch, exchanging stories about our life experiences, our families, and our adversities. Through her experience, I learned so much about the importance of self-advocacy and patience on the long journey that I knew I had ahead of myself. Dr. Sullivan provided me with an incredible amount of advice on how to navigate the academic and professional world as a minority. I felt so empowered while sharing my academic and life goals with Dr. Holmes. I also enjoyed how seamlessly we were able to transition into talking about everyday aspects of life, like our hair or food. She was just the mentor I needed when I thought it was nearly impossible to find someone who looked like me and who I could truly identify with. Eventually, college application season arrived, and after years of learning about the initiatives and resources that the University of Oregon had to offer, my heart led me to Lewis and Clark. And while I was sad to leave my community, I received the warmest welcome from Lewis and Clark's music department, particularly from the incredible Catherine Fitzgibbon and one of the most inspirational piano teachers I've ever worked with, Susan Smith. And as nervous as I was to tell Dr. Holmes about my decision, very nervous, she responded with so much genuine love and support and reassurance that she would remain my mentor regardless of where I entered school. And this is what helped me to feel secure upon transitioning into college. During my sophomore year of college, I received an email with the names of Lewis and Clark Dean of Student Candidates, and I'm sure you all can guess whose name was on the top of that list. Soon after Dr. Holmes received the position, our lunches resumed, and as I walked past her office every day on the way to class, I felt so relieved to have someone who I've considered family right here on campus with me. Someone who was willing to make the time to catch up with me at any point in time and who looked out for me. Dr. Holmes' impact contributed to the reason why I feel it's so important to pay it forward myself as a mentor. 2 years later, I was honored to be introduced as the commencement speaker by Dr. Holmes, and now I have the privilege of speaking at her inauguration as the first Black female president of Lewis and Clark College, and I'm so happy to be a part of this moment. There truly seems to be a full circle theme to our relationship, and I often resonate on how rare and special that is to me. Thank you for being such an incredible mentor and a friend to me. Someone who I've always felt and always will feel comfortable expressing myself to. Our conversations alone can change the entire trajectory of my day, and I hope that I can provide the same level of comfort and reassurance for others. I want to encourage every student to seek out at least 1 or 2 lifelong mentors who you identify with and who you can relate to. Don't be afraid to speak up and ask for the resources that you know will help to advance you to the next level of your life. It's okay to be as bold as my mom was and just ask. I promise you'll be surprised at how far that will take you. Dr. Holmes, you truly, truly deserve this moment, and I'm so glad that we could all come together and honor you and your impact. Congratulations on your presidency.
I have a voice, started out as a whisper, turned into a scream, made a beautiful noise, shoulder to shoulder marching in the streets. When you're all alone, it's a quiet space, but when we stand together, it's a choir of thunder and rain. Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice.
I'm not living to die. Don't stand in a wasteland. Look at me in the eye. Stop living a lie and stand up next to me. You gotta put one foot in front of the other with a hand in a hand, holding on to each other. Go on and rejoice, 'cause you have a voice. This love is stronger than your fear. It's believing your love. It's calling out from the sounds of the silence of the river. We can I
have a voice, and I let it speak for the ones who aren't yet really free. It's killing me. No one is saying what we need to hear. I will not let violence win. Now when I see all the pain our people are in, there's no other choice, 'cause I have a voice. It's loud, it's clear, we're stronger than fear. It's believing you belong. It's what calling out the wrong. From the mouth of others to the lips of others. We can scream. We can hear. Can you hear us? Can you hear us now? I have a voice. Started out as a whisper, turned into a scream. Beautiful noise, children marching in the streets. But when we stand together, it's a choir of thunder and rain. Now we have a choice. 'Cause I have a voice. I have a voice. I have a voice. I have a voice.
Well, that truly was a beautiful noise, wasn't it? Thank you to our Capella Nova Choir and their director, visiting professor John Cox. Well, it's me again, and we're getting very close, I promise, to that official moment. But first, allow me a few observations. Robin's career, as we've heard, has been full of historic firsts, and in becoming president here, we all know she adds to that list. She is the first woman and the first person of color to preside over Lewis and Clark in its 155-year history, and that indeed is truly cause for celebration. But that's not why I personally supported Robin for president, nor why we as a board have so much confidence in her. Robin arrived on campus about 3 years ago to be our new vice president for student life, and COVID arrived shortly thereafter. That was certainly the largest and most unexpected challenge of her tenure here, but there have been many others, big and small, and Robin has successfully managed us through them all with her unique blend of pragmatic wisdom and a laser focus on what best serves our students. I don't know how many of our guests know that Lewis and Clark is one of the rare liberal arts colleges that actually came out of the pandemic in a stronger position than we went in. And our former president, Vin Bevel, is the first to say Robin deserves a large part of the credit for that. I mean, of course, it takes a village, and, it's an all-in effort by the entire campus community, but Robin was our designated COVID response leader, and lead she did. I'm not going to go through all of Robin's CV in detail, but I just want to call out one credential that no one focuses on too much. Robin actually started her higher ed career as a clinical psychologist at the University of Oregon's Counseling Center. And you probably don't know this, But no matter how high she's climbed on the career ladder since then, she's always tried to maintain some semblance of a private practice in all her vast spare time. Her specialty is anxiety, treating it, not causing it, at least not yet. And I can tell you she's good at it. You don't even have to be her client. She's that good. And I know because I used to meet weekly with our former president, Vim Vivo, as I do now with Robin. And he would start telling me about some challenging thing that was going on campus. And I'm a worrier. So I'd start thinking, oh no, what are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? And before I could even say anything, Vim would say, but Robin's handling it. And all of a sudden, just a cloud of calm would descend around me. I really, Robin's handling it. Robin's got a plan. Robin's talking to students. Robin's putting a group together. Robin's handling it. Always inclusively, always respectfully, never by stilling voices, but by truly listening to them, and quite often forging them into some new, fresh solution that moves the particular issue forward as well as the institution as a whole. So for Robin, handling it doesn't just mean quieting the waters or getting things back to the status quo. She's not someone who simply accepts received wisdom. She likes to look behind the curtain, or as she likes to say, under the hood, to figure out what's really going on. If it's broken, she wants to fix it. If something's missing, she wants to figure out what it is. And if it's good, she wants to make it even better. So I think I can assure you that Lewis and Clark will not be standing still under Robin's leadership. Will moving forward be easy? Of course not. These are profoundly challenging times, globally, nationally, locally, within higher education, and within individual institutions of higher education. Should we be worried? Globally, yes. Nationally, yes. Locally, yes. But Lewis and Clark, not so much, because we've got Robin and we know she can handle it. Okay, so it's now time to make that official. Robin Holmes-Sullivan, please come forward. Oh no, I can't open the box. Oh, this thing weighs a ton. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I place in your hands the administration of Lewis and Clark College. As an emblem of your authority, I present this medallion symbolizing the institution over which you will preside. May you fulfill this responsibility with intellect and imagination, principle and purpose, wisdom and compassion. In other words, all of your natural talents. So now, in the presence of this assembly, with the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I declare you Robin Holmes-Sullivan, President of Lewis and Clark. You know what? Her head was so big with all that praise that the metal didn't fit over her head anymore. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow. Well, Good afternoon. Our Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, students, elected officials, and esteemed guests. It is an honor and a privilege to be standing before you with a heart that is truly bursting with gratitude for all who contributed to this very special day. Thank you to our performers for your beautiful and inspiring music. And Dr. Michael Johansson, and all my days, I never thought that someone would compose a fanfare for me. I might have to make it my new ringtone. Thank you to our ushers, our mace bearer, marshals, and flag bearers representing 30 countries, our state, our city, and our campus. And a special note of gratitude to all of the members of the inaugural committee who worked tirelessly to plan this event. I am very grateful. Dr. Kundai Chirindo, thank you for serving as our Master of Ceremonies, and to Hillary Martin Hyman for blessing today's festivities, as well as David Harrelson. Thank you for honoring our Indigenous communities. A special thanks to Representative Blumenauer for representing our state so ably all of these years and taking time out of his busy schedule to offer greetings. And to Chris Oman, thank you for your service to the Alumni Association and to the Board of Trustees and for being here today. In thinking about this ceremony and who would speak on my behalf, I reflected on the many people in my life who have been inspirational to me, helped me to become the leader and person I am today, and whose love, friendship, and support have sustained me over the years. It was an easy realization that my inauguration must have the sage words from 3 people who have been instrumental in my life. So a big thank you to our featured speakers, Dr. Mia Tuan, a brilliant educator and dean whom I met and had the honor to work with when we both were at the University of Oregon. President Lori White, who has been a longtime colleague whom I have learned from and admired as one of the seminal student affairs professions in the field. And Miss Asia Wooten, alumna and current Oregon Health and Sciences second year medical student, soon to be a physician. I am so very proud of you. Asia and I, as she mentioned, have had a long friendship that began when she was a young person looking for an African-American mentor, and I was so lucky to be selected to play that role for her. And at this point in our friendship, I can truly say, I'm not sure who is the mentor or the mentee anymore. We just learn from one another. Thank you, all 3, for your kind and thoughtful words today. I appreciate you all. And finally, to our colleagues in higher education who traveled to bring greetings from their campuses, thank you for honoring us with your presence as delegates. No one achieves success alone. I am blessed to be able to say that I have an abundance of support from my family and friends. And the first person that I think of when I get up in the morning and lay my head down at night is my amazing wife, Kathy Holmes-Sullivan. After almost 29 years of partnership, Kathy and I have been through many adventures. Some good, some exciting, a few hard, and of course, we weathered through the losses of our mothers together. There is no one in the world I would want to be going through this journey with other than you, Kathy. You make me a better person, a better mother, and a better leader. You are my most important and reliable confidant. You always tell me what I need to hear, whether I want to hear it or not. I am one of your biggest admirers, and I'm not quite sure how I was able to have the good fortune of being your wife, but I am eternally grateful for it. I can't imagine starting this next chapter without you by my side. Kathy and I are blessed with two incredible sons, Josh and Nathan, an amazingly impressive daughter-in-law, Caitlin, and an absolutely perfect best grandson ever, Caden. It's true. Our children have been a source of immense joy and pride for us, and I'm so grateful to be their mom and Nana. Thank you for keeping me humble and focused on what is important, family. To my extended family, my father, sisters and brothers, my father-in-law and his partner Donna, brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws and nieces, thank you for being here and always being so supportive of our family and of me. I love you all very much. I also would like to thank the many friends who have traveled near and far to witness this moment. We have had some amazing memories together as well, and I am so admiring of the strong, accomplished people you all are. Thank you for always being in my corner and for witnessing this moment with me and my family today. And finally, I would like to take a moment to honor my mother, Ethel Marie Holmes, my rock, my cheerleader, and sometimes my biggest critic. I would not be who I am today without the loving guidance and support that she provided me. She would so much want to be here today to celebrate this moment. Her physical absence is one of the only places of sadness on this special day. A few minutes ago, you heard the Lewis and Clark Capella Nova sing A Beautiful Noise, a song originally performed by Alicia Keys and Brandi Carlile. Talk about amazing voices. Thank you so much. The song reminds me that everyone has a voice. You just hope that you get invited to use it. And it is significant that Lewis and Clark invited me to use my voice as the first woman, the first person of color, the first openly gay person to lead this institution. Thank you. Thank you. And I have to say this part. In 155 years. And as the song says, I promise to let my voice speak for the ones who aren't yet really free. As I mentioned, no one accomplishes success alone. If you're lucky, you not only had some support, you had a lot of support. That definitely describes my life to this point. So let me tell you about the people who gave me my voice. Some of my earliest memories are of the Marine Corps base in El Toro, California, where my father was a Master Sergeant in the United States Marine Corps, a well-respected, yes. My dad was a well-respected, successful leader who broke down barriers and excelled on base. He was so respected by the men and the women that he led. But truth be told, my mother was the real Master Sergeant of our house, right? My mother was a big woman, 6 feet tall, with a big voice, big enough that it worried and thrilled me when she said she needed to go talk to someone who displeased her or who she perceived had done her family wrong. You never wanted to be on the back end of that conversation, trust me. Like the time a PE teacher told me I needed to tone it down on the 7th grade basketball court to give the other girls a chance to compete. When I told my mom about it, she said, "What?" Well, I'll go talk to her. I guess the PE coach heard her because I kept right on playing as hard as I could, and she never spoke of limiting me again. My dad, his voice was gentle and soothing. He never raised it. Can you imagine that? A master sergeant who never yells? That's my dad. And he was my hero in uniform. I loved that uniform. I used to shine his boots, starch his hat, polish his buckle, all to show my love for him. Dad, would you please stand for a moment so we can show our love and appreciation for you and thank you for your years of service. Thank you. My parents gave me something that every child deserves: unconditional love, acceptance, protection, structure, rules, lots of them, but mostly love. They built me up because they believed in me. They set high expectations for me because they believed in me. And they pushed me to attend college even though they never had the privilege to attend themselves. It was never a question that I would, because they believed in my voice. They were raising a young Black woman, and they knew the world might not believe in me the same way that they did. And they were right about that. I could tell you a lot of stories about times when the world didn't believe in me, but I'm gonna share just one, because I want to spend the rest of our time talking about why I believe in Lewis and Clark and the great things that we're gonna do here together. So, as a kid, I played basketball obsessively, passionately, for hours on end. It was how I expressed myself. It was my voice. I didn't know what else I was gonna do in college, but I knew I was gonna play basketball there. And at a summer basketball camp when I was about 14, I finally got a chance to talk to a real college coach. She said, "What are your goals?" I said, "I want to play college basketball at the Division I level." She said, "Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. Your shot is inconsistent. You've got this side spin. I wouldn't get my hopes up, at least not at the Division I level." I was crushed, crushed. Back home, my brother caught me crying. "What's wrong?" he said, and I laid it all out, and he was not having any of it. "Get your ball," he said. "We're going outside." Off to the high school court we went to shoot the basketball for hours. And I mean hours, because while that coach was wrong in many ways, she was right about one thing: my shot needed work. So we practiced, and we practiced, and we practiced night after night until I nailed that shot and was recruited to play college basketball at the Division I level in a conference against the very coach who told me I would never make it. I enjoyed when we played against her teams, probably a little bit too much, but that's me. Now imagine if I had listened to that coach and just stopped playing basketball. Imagine if I would have let her take my voice. Where would I be? Probably not on this stage. But all too often, we listen to the wrong voices. The ones that say some students just aren't cut out for college, and we shouldn't expect everyone to graduate. The ones that say we can't afford that at Lewis and Clark. We don't have the resources to pay our excellent faculty and staff or to invest in innovative programs and build the best facilities. The ones that say we'll never come back from the pandemic. The ones that are screaming at each other in the comments and on the cable news and on our social media feeds. And the ones that are poisoning the minds of our young girls over social media as they strive for perfection they will never achieve. Those are the voices we hear. But not today, not while I've got something to say. You're about to hear some different voices, stories from people right here at Lewis and Clark who set the tone for the kind of institution we can be, for the kind of community we can be, for the kind of country we must be. From a member of our staff who was tasked with welcoming new students to campus during the pandemic, and when most of our beloved traditions were out of reach, who found a way to give our students the stars. From a member of our faculty who summoned the silenced voices of his indigenous ancestors and composed for them a chorus. And from a recent graduate whose Lewis and Clark studies led him to Uganda, where he challenged his assumptions and opened himself to new voices. Each of these people shows the value of a Lewis and Clark education and points to the potential that is simmering away under the surface of our institution. Francesca Spann is one of those special people. I hired Francesca as the director of our new student orientation program in 2020, right before she graduated from Lewis and Clark. Student orientation is one of the most important programs on our campus. It gives students their first impression of college life at Lewis and Clark. Students get 5 days to meet their professors, make new friends, learn the campus, interact with staff, and understand the services we will provide to them, and begin to find their place. Orientation sets the tone for the entire academic year. We want students to come away from it feeling like they made the right choice when they selected Lewis and Clark. I thought Francesca, being fresh out of college, probably understood how to do that better than anyone. And just as she was settling into her new job, COVID hit. Now, we might be ready to put that period in our past, but I want to talk about it for just a minute because our community's response to COVID perfectly illustrates what makes Lewis and Clark great. In March 2020, our campus shut down, along with the rest of the country. But by April, we were up and running as a fully remote campus. Think about that. We were literally afraid for our lives, under enormous stress, and amid that, we shifted what was then a 153-year-old institution fully online. It sounds ridiculous to even say it out loud, but we did it in a matter of weeks. Everyone was scrambling, and Francesca had an orientation to plan for the fall. But she had no idea whether the campus would even be open in the fall. Health conditions were changing daily, and so were the rules about social distancing and safe events. At one point, Francesca had 10 different backup plans going. And days before she was set to welcome her carefully planned groups of 12 students each, the state set the group limit at, you guessed it, 11 students. I'm not making that up. Did she give up? No. She moved sessions outside or online. And in a stroke of true genius, Francesca and her team hosted a star watching party on the Great Platte Lawn, creating an unforgettable memory and a new tradition at Lewis and Clark. At that moment, and so many others during the pandemic, Francesca and our entire faculty and staff pulled together and showed us what a community of care looks like in action. You know, when I arrived in 2019, I was struck by the spirit of support, care, and collaboration at Lewis and Clark. It was everywhere. Impressively, this campus is still alive with it, even after our shared experience with COVID. In fact, the COVID crisis made us stronger. Faculty and staff, your academic innovation has paid off in greater interest in Lewis and Clark and in higher enrollment across all 3 of our schools. Your efforts to develop our community of care, to provide wraparound services and touch points for students along their academic journey has increased students' sense of belonging and thus their willingness to stay in school. Our success is palpable and paying off. Between 2020 in 2022, we have enjoyed the biggest enrollment gains in our history, retained the highest number of students ever, and raised the most private money in our history. COVID set us on a journey that none of us wanted to take, and we've arrived at a wonderful moment on our campus. To paraphrase Lin-Manuel Miranda, now it's time to take that moment and make it a movement. Our campus and beyond. It's time to celebrate and elevate the good work happening every day at Lewis and Clark, and to challenge ourselves to do more. To eliminate roadblocks for our students by delivering unwavering constituent service across all departments and offices. To identify and invest in promising academic and support programs that will meet the changing needs of our students and our community. To reward and retain our loyal faculty and staff with competitive compensation. And to open our doors to new and diverse faculty and staff. Reminding ourselves the role that higher education can play in healing our country. We will commit fully to educating our students, creating the sense of belonging that is the antidote to disconnection and divisiveness. Teaching them how to learn across their differences without shutting down or becoming locked in rigid thinking. In the coming months and years, you will be reading and hearing more about the excellence that exists at Lewis and Clark. It is among my top priorities that we sustain and grow our local, regional, and national reputation across all 3 campuses. In the past, we've been shy about promoting ourselves, but it's simply too competitive out there to be humble. We must tell our stories of success to persuade the finest students, faculty, and staff to join our ranks. So listen for us to raise our voices, for we have an abundance of stories to share. Our faculty across all 3 of our schools stand shoulder to shoulder with the best in their fields. Faculty like Dr. Freddie Vilches, whose beautiful music you will hear at the reception. Dr. Vilches is an associate professor in the Department of World Languages and Literature and an instructor in Latin American instruments in our music department. A native of Chile with indigenous roots, Dr. Vilches composes music that centers around indigenous voices and instruments. He's making music featuring languages, melodies, and rhythms dismissed and historically marginalized, restoring ancient sounds to the musical canon, and vindicating the silenced voices of indigenous communities in South, Central, and North America. Dr. Vilches' Latin American Suite celebrates 5 musical regions: the Andes, Venezuela and Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, and Cuba. This summer, he traveled to Bolivia with conductor Lance Inouye to perform Vilches' Latin American Suite with an orchestra of indigenous musicians. Together, they filled this jungle community once more with the sounds of the cuatro, flutes from the Andes, and more. It was a tribute to the indigenous communities themselves and to Dr. Vilches' artistic vision. A vision that continues in his Abiyala Choral Suite, commissioned by Lewis and Clark's own Kathy Fitzgibbons Resonance Ensemble. The Choral Suite is an ambitious collaboration between Dr. Vilches and bilingual poets from 5 different regions, whose poetry he has adapted into a multilingual composition, preserving the languages and cultures of indigenous communities for future generations. Dr. Vilches is just one example of the excellence, innovation, and collaboration alive on the Lewis and Clark campus. Excellence and innovation that I'm determined to see us support through competitive compensation that recognizes the accomplishments and talents of our current faculty and staff, and that will make us an attractive destination for new faculty and staff who are at the top of their fields, and they can help us launch academic programs that will give us a strategic advantage as we recruit students and meet the needs of our community and our country. Because a scarcity mindset doesn't serve our community, and it doesn't serve us. Remember that every investment in Lewis and Clark is an investment in a future student, and our students are worthy of that investment. Students like Cole Harris. Cole came to Lewis and Clark after spending most of his childhood in rural Texas, an alienating experience for someone with a queer identity. He arrived at Lewis and Clark a lost soul, without passions or a clear sense of what he wanted to study, a minor character in his own life, without much of a voice. But that changed almost immediately with his first class with Cyrus Portovi. Studying international affairs through the lens of the 2016 election cycle awakened Cole's interests in the world around him. Lewis and Clark trusted Cole to take responsibility for his educational journey. He began to see that his ideas and opinions could evolve as more information came to light and he took in new perspectives. This freedom led Cole to pursue research opportunities as an undergraduate with professors like Dr. Elizabeth Bennett and Dr. Laura Vinson, who trusted him to make meaningful contributions to their research and who helped him secure funding to study abroad in Tanzania. Cole says that getting off the airplane for the first time in a new country felt like his first main character moment. He'd found his voice. The quality and depth of Cole's undergraduate experiences and the support of his professors led to his selection as a Fulbright scholar. He traveled to Uganda to study the social programs of Pentecostal churches in a country that is notoriously dangerous for people who are LGBTQ. Going in, Cole made an assumption that gay people wouldn't be welcome in the church and they wouldn't choose it. But in Uganda, he found a Pentecostal church led by a devout gay man. In Cole's words, "My ideas evolved. I grew, and I realized I was not the same person. It wasn't that I was wrong, it was that I had grown." That is the true power of higher education, to allow our students to hear differing points of view and work in multiple cultural contexts. And that is why we are investing in our Community Dialogues initiative. This year, we plan to complete at least 3 of these dialogues, learning how to have difficult conversations right here at home and becoming a model for institutions across the country. It's imperative to make room for new voices and encourage the discussion of ideological and philosophical differences. Because we're living at a time where political positions and beliefs seem chiseled in cement, where change is seen as a sign of weakness, and where ideas and people can be canceled. But on this 26th Inauguration Day, we're reminded that higher education has a higher purpose. It brings us together to make a beautiful noise, one that is loud and clear and so much stronger than your fears. Francesca, Freddie, and Cole, can you please stand for a moment so we can recognize you? Thank you for adding your voices to the beautiful noise of this community and for accepting the invitation of higher education. Because that's really what we're sending when we mail acceptance letters in the spring to students, invitations. We're saying you are cordially invited to Lewis and Clark, where you'll learn how to learn, where you'll change your mind and change it again, where you'll find your voice and use it to make the world sing. Thank you.
Thank you, President. I spoke at the beginning about the first presidents of the college at this place. But your speech, Madam President, reminded me of another set of firsts in this college's history. Your speech reminded me that the voices of the first graduates of this institution echo forth to this moment. The first class ever to graduate from what was then Albany College was a class of 5 women, a rarity in 1873 when it happened, just as your ascension might seem to the outsider to be. Robin Holmes-Sullivan, president of a highly selective liberal arts college in the Pacific Northwest? Just as those graduates bequeathed to us the storied legacy of progress through adversity, I think your presidency is an inflection point in the history and future of this institution that will help us catalyze the lifting of many voices, especially those we haven't yet heard from. I speak for our entire community when I say that we look forward to supporting you and supporting your work, as well as to translating your inspiring ideas into reality. Friends, I'm going to ask you now to rise and join me in the singing of our alma mater, and the words are printed at the final page of your program. Friends, our ceremony is almost at a close, which means it's close to time to party. But before we leave, I want to thank all who served on the inauguration committee, whose names are listed in the program. And of course, for every person listed in there are dozens more whose work, ideas, and dedication turned long days of planning into this time of celebration. On behalf of our grateful community, my thanks to all of you. The inauguration reception will be held in the academic quad, just a few buildings to our east. Please follow the crowd to the food, drink, music, and dancing that await. The platform party will lead the way, so please remain in your rows until they have exited the room. Lewis and Clark's Ghanaian Music and Dance Ensemble, led by music instructor Alex Addy, will perform during the recessional. And now, to the reception.